Turfgrass sod is often planted on roadsides for immediate vegetation coverage and soil stabilization. Unfortunately, many roadside sod establishments fail due to improper sodding procedures or poor post-sodding care. In this module, you will learn about the proper methods for installing and establishing sod in roadside settings. Sodding roadsides can have many unique advantages, but also potential disadvantages. Let's discuss the advantages first. One of the most important advantages of sodding roadsides includes the ability to rapidly cover exposed soil with weed-free turf. Sod can be effectively planted on slopes or areas that are prone to erosion. Also, the window for planting sod is much wider than for seeding, and sod can be laid virtually any time of the year. Keep in mind that the optimum times for cool season turfgrass growth, such as the spring and fall, will ultimately provide the most success with a sodding project. Because sod is densely knitted together with living plant tissue, there is no requirement to stabilize the soil with mulch or erosion blankets as with seeding. Finally, sodded roadsides provide an immediate high-quality visual appearance. The disadvantages of sodding roadsides are numerous and should be taken into account when determining whether to seed or sod. First of all, the cost of sod will be much higher than that for seed, especially considering the harvest and transportation costs, and labor to install and establish the sod. Layering of soil types is a concern with sod, and if the soil on site differs drastically from the soil included with the sod, rooting and establishment will be limited. Also, with sod, you will have less flexibility in choosing species and varieties, as availability will be limited mainly to Kentucky bluegrass or salt-tolerant fine fescue sod. And finally, frequent irrigation is required for sod establishment, especially during the middle of the summer. Sod planted during the summer and not irrigated will generally fail if rainfall is insufficient, much like the picture shown on this slide. Basic considerations prior to any sodding project should include the type of sod, time of year, and resources for proper installation. Sod types will be limited to three main categories. Traditional sod, generally comprised of improved Kentucky bluegrass varieties, salt-tolerant sod, which contains mostly fine fescues, and alternative sod types such as common Kentucky bluegrass and tall fescue. In the future, we anticipate that the availability of alternative sods will improve. The various characteristics of each cool season turfgrass species were discussed in greater detail in Module 2. When considering time of year, spring and fall sodding would be the preferred timing. Spring sodding is often more successful than spring seeding due to less weed encroachment when sodding. Additionally, sodding in the late fall until mid to late October will often yield successful results in the spring. The least optimal time for sodding would be during the heat of the summer. If a project must be installed during this time, proper irrigation is critical. Finally, all tools, equipment, and irrigation need to be considered prior to beginning a sod project. Methods for delivering irrigation are discussed in Module 7 of this training. The quality of sod used for roadside projects must be considered, and this may vary depending on sod choices. For traditional blends or mixtures, such as a 4-variety Kentucky bluegrass blend, certified blue tag seed should be used by the sod grower. The seed should contain at least 3 turfgrass varieties to improve the genetic diversity of a roadside stand. Common or Midwest varieties of Kentucky bluegrass are often more suitable to low-maintenance roadside environments when compared to the more compact elite Kentucky bluegrasses. Examples of common Kentucky bluegrass would be Ken Blue or Park. Recently, members from the University of Minnesota, the Minnesota Department of Transportation, the Minnesota Turf Association, and the Minnesota Crop Improvement Association created a salt-tolerant sod mixture called MNST-12. This sod is comprised of 80% fine fescues and 20% Kentucky bluegrass. These percentages are by weight of the original seeding mixture. Again, Module 2 provides more detail on this mixture. The Sod Quality Assurance Program involves sod inspection and certification by the Minnesota Crop Improvement Association. Quality assured sod must be established with seed from approved vendors and be accompanied by a certificate. For sod to be eligible for certification, it must meet a set of inspection standards, and inspections are conducted by the Minnesota Crop Improvement Association. Prior to seeding, the field is inspected to verify a lack of weeds and other vegetation. Prior to harvest, the seed is inspected to confirm that standards have been met, including a confirmation of planted area, mixed composition, lack of weeds and undesirable species, and adequate separation from other fields. In addition to certification standards for sod, there are several other criteria to look for. First of all, the sod should be high quality with actively growing roots and rhizomes. It should not be nutrient or moisture stressed. The sod should be pest and weed free. Rolls should be freshly harvested within at least 24 hours and, if possible, be laid on the same day as harvest. The root system should be moist upon delivery. Rolls should be of a uniform width and thickness. Thickness of the soil, thatch, and canopy should be at least 1.5 inches when compressed, with a thatch layer no greater than 1/2 inch. The picture on this slide is an example of heating injury due to sod being left on a pallet for too long in hot temperatures. The University of Minnesota's Turfgrass Science program has conducted sod tensile strength testing following the development of fine fescue-based sod. It was often thought that Kentucky bluegrass was a required component of sod due to the ability of rhizomes to hold the sod together. However, sod containing 100% fine fescues has been shown to hold together as good or better than sod containing Kentucky bluegrass. Fine fescue mixtures, however, take much longer to form a harvestable sod, which is why they tend to be higher in cost. In Module 4, we outlined the 6 steps for conducting a proper seeding of roadsides, and the steps for sodding are no different. These steps include conducting a soil test, preparing the site, amending the soil, final grading, applying starter fertilizer, and sodding. All too often it is thought that soil preparation measures do not need to be as detailed when sodding. However, this couldn't be further from the truth. Sod projects often fail due to a lack of proper soil preparation. This ends Part 1 of this presentation. Continue to Part 2 to continue watching.